Don't say anything too weird. They can hear us now.
I can hear me now.
Good. All right. Let's see if this works. Hello, Internet.
Hello.
How is everybody? Oh, gross podcast. Yes, Spectre. We are here. We are here in the Rasta forums every 2 weeks to bring you the best podcast on the internet.
Upon the bi-weekly Monday.
Our every fortnight podcast. We bringeth you entertainment. You're welcome. Hello. Ryan, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, Adam?
I am well. I has been busy and things are happening around everywhere, but I'm doing good.
Busyness is, I'm finding, just more and more a part of life, and it never stops. And I guess that's kind of okay.
Don't stop, won't stop. What that
Why
means?
stop?
I don't know. So for everybody who's here and gonna watch this later, this is our bi-weekly podcast where Ryan and I talk about nerdy things, typically movies, TV, comic books, games, both board and video. I don't know, whatever we want. We just talk 2 hours. And if you miss it live, which we encourage you to participate live because you can chat with us and we can react. But if you miss it, you can go to the YouTube channel.
You are on here. It's probably right there.
Yep, there's a chat there. So hello, chat. We're gonna play Fortnite all night. Yes, that's what we're doing.
It's all I ever do every night.
So if you miss it, it'll be on YouTube later. All of our previous episodes are on YouTube. Follow us on our social medias, all that kind of stuff. Merch store. You get sweet shirts like this. Because I wear my own merch. Deal with it.
You should.
There's stickers, mugs. I'm looking at making some more merch. It's fun. Eventually, I'm going to make some podcast related stuff like graphics and things. I'm thinking of things. And then maybe we'll have like podcast related merch. We probably should name this thing. So
I'm really looking forward to the day when we have a podcast that's actually broadcasted, not broadcasted, but posted as a podcast.
Yep, that is a thing. So we should both be wearing it. That is true. But there's only one prototype shirt so far. So maybe I'll have the wife make him one as well. I would like to congratulate us, Ryan. When we started this, we believed that all like 90% of some podcasts fail by episode 7. I believe this is technically our 7th episode.
We are the 10%.
So we are real boys now. we are actual podcasters. We've made it past the threshold. It does say 6 because I'm a weirdo and I started our numbering at hexadecimal 0 because it was kind of our pilot episode. So if you count the pilot episode of episode 0, this would technically be our 7th episode.
Are we going hex the whole way? Like
I really don't know. We might go the whole way with hex as the numbering system. I don't know. I don't care. We haven't even named the thing yet. So now though we are 7 in, I do believe what I would like to do is start getting a little more serious about finding a way to put this up as an actual podcast somewhere. So we've proven that we can do it. That was part of my thing. And base 2 math, I was teaching that to my son the other day, but that naming convention gets rather long once we get into like, I don't know, the hundreds of episodes.
Yeah, it's binary. We don't want like half of the title to be the number.
It'll just be like episode 1000001 for our 128th episode. Or 129th, the ones on the end, I guess. So anyway, that's good news. We are on episode 7, and I appreciate everybody who's come out and hung out with us and have watched our YouTube channel, and because there are people who have actually done it, which is awesome and surprising to me.
It is fun.
And so here we are. So what's up, chat? What do you got? Because you need to make all the content this week because we didn't prepare anything.
Binary is very compressible. That's true.
It is compressible. COD War Zones. Discuss. Well, I can discuss this. I don't know if Ryan has interest in this, but Call of Duty has announced, kind of out of nowhere, from the seams of it, that tomorrow they are dropping a free-to-play battle royale based on Modern Warfare engine, which looks pretty good. Honestly, it looks really good. And so tomorrow night, I will probably be playing it on stream, most likely. Once they open it for download tonight or tomorrow, I will be downloading it and going crazy. I haven't seen it on the Blizzard launcher yet. Battle.net. Ryan, do you have any
Yeah,
feelings
or
about playing Battle Royale for free?
well, I'm always prefer it for free.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, if it's a good game, I don't think that there's any problem paying for it. But I mean, they're gonna give it away.
Well, the nice thing
I'm not
about good
complaining.
free-to-play games like Apex or Fortnite or something is they obviously make money hand over fist because they just give you other
Yeah.
ways to pay into the system and support them, which if it is good and you've dumped, like I've dumped hundreds of hours into Apex at this point, spending $20 here or there to help support the cause really isn't that big of a deal.
No.
And they probably make way more money doing that than spending like a flat fee of like $60 for the game. So
Yeah, that is probably true.
it's especially nice that it's a
But
standalone game and you don't need to own the COD game. Yes, so that was part of the announcement is if you own the COD game, apparently if you go into the menu after the update is applied tomorrow, you will just have that mode available to you in the normal game. But if you don't have it, there will be a separate downloader that just lets you download the client for just the Battle Royale. And it's crossplay from what I understand. So
nice.
right out of the gate, which is a big deal. Apex hasn't caught up to this yet, though like Fortnite has been doing this, but a lot of other games are behind on this. Is this one will be crossplay from what I understand. So
Is it across all three big systems? Or, well, Switch included?
that was my understanding, but I will go ahead and say that I only remember seeing PlayStation, but I believe it was all the Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. One on PC, one on the Xbox. Yeah. So I think that's
That is very
awesome.
cool.
That's super cool. Like obviously you don't want your competitive play in there because there's huge differences between how controllers and mouse and keyboard works. But if you just want like a basic mode where people can just screw around in and go and play and have fun, like I think it's super smart to have crossplay. I've been screaming for crossplay for over a decade now. This is a thing that I cannot believe has not happened sooner, but it is finally working. And like the new game that I was playing over the weekend, Spellbreak, has it too. So like a lot of games are starting to get there, especially free to play or like some of these more massive games where you kind of need critical mass of players to make it work well. Which battle royales are totally that category. Um, it's definitely becoming a bigger thing. So
Yeah, it makes sense. It really does. Like, yeah.
cool, very cool, very cool.
I've always liked Call of Duty, but I've definitely been more influenced by, well, I think we've said it on here plenty of times, Halo. Um, but Call of Duty's fun.
Halo is like, and I think we talked about this like way back in like maybe episode 1 or no, because when did the Master Chief Collection come on PC? Whatever episode that was. Um, I went back and played, and man, that is slow. It's when you used to like Apex Legends, which is probably the fastest game I've ever played, where you are just straight up running full speed everywhere, shooting things, sliding around, slinging on grappling hooks, and then you go in and play a little old school Halo multiplayer, and it's like feels like you're just walking at a good brisk pace, and it's so slow. It's such a weird thing to play after all these years. I miss it. It's a fun game, but so weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Halo is kind of doubly paced like that, partly because it is kind of just an older first person shooter, anyways, where things were slower.
Yep.
But on top of that, you have the whole shield based combat, which automatically adds another layer of just things slowing down. And yeah, it's more of a, I mean, I don't want to say modern first person shooters aren't thinking men's shooters, but like Halo's definitely more of a strategy based system than a lot of,
Yeah.
I think, more than rather than being Twitch based. I mean, all games first person shooters have some of each of that, but especially when you get into things like Overwatch where it is completely strategy based.
Right. I'd say Apex is fun because it kind of falls in the middle. Because especially by the time you get closer to the end rings, everybody's got double the health, and it takes a lot to, um, you know, kind of understand where you're positioning. And I know I get caught in that a lot because early game everybody just dies and it's kind of twitchy, but later game you have to be doing that dance a lot more proficiently to be good. So. And that's the one thing I do miss about Halo most was the dance. Like, and that was like an old Unreal tournament type thing too, where like everybody had shields and you had to know how to dance around each other in between reloads and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Call of Duty tomorrow. I'll probably be playing it. Thanks, Moose. That bought us like 10 minutes. Well, not with intros and everything. What else is going on, Ryan?
Not a lot. I'm reteaching myself to solder because I
I've
always
not
decided I
soldered
want
in
to.
a long time.
Yeah, I've always been really horrible at it, but I've got a handful of cheap guitars that I've been very unhappy with, so I'm just replacing pickups in them.
Oh yeah, those shouldn't be too
Which
difficult to solder.
it's not hard, but it's if you make a mess of it, it does not help with
Yeah,
anything guitar wise. But
play Freebird. I don't have a lighter with me. That's unfortunate.
I think that's like I continue to go down into adulthood by doing less and less of anything fun and exciting.
That's all of us. I mean, that's really it. I mean, all I do is kids and work. So, and this. So, it's just how it is. But wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
Freebird and go. Nope. All right. So, I guess I wrote down some things. There's really not a whole lot of other news for me personally or anything. So, I wrote down some things we can talk about if we want to go through that. As always, this is kind of nerdy, geeky stuff. And I'll start out with some sad news. And I hope I don't mess up his last name too bad, but Max von Sydow has passed away. And for those who don't know who he is played in just about every nerdy movie you can possibly think of, starting and way before this. But the first one I remember is Flash Gordon. He was Emperor Ming. And as late as Star Wars, where he played Lor San Tekka, which was, if you remember, Poe Dameron was talking to get the information for Luke Skywalker. He was in Game of Thrones as a three-eyed raven. He was in Minority Report, which is a fantastic movie that doesn't get enough credit. He was Judge Fargo in the 95 Judge Dredd movie, which is awesome. Apparently, and I had no idea about this, he was the voice of Vigo in Ghostbusters 2, but he was uncredited.
Wow.
So, I mean, and he was Dr. Kynes in Dune. So, I mean, like, he's got geek credit for days as far as his acting career goes. So, Rip Max, and, you played in some pretty awesome movies. So,
yeah.
He was 90 years old, though. So,
he lived a good life.
Lived a really good life. He acted since the 60s. So, for quite some time.
It's a way to make a career out of it.
So, yeah, pretty impressive career. Going back through his IMDb, which I encourage, I'll put a link in the show notes if you watch this on YouTube later to his IMDb. It's pretty impressive, all the things he's been in and what he's played on. So, let's see, some other just random news. We talked a little bit in one of our episodes about James Bond, and I don't think we've mentioned this here yet, but they've postponed James Bond now till November.
Are you kidding?
Nope. So if you did not see this, they came out and reworked, and I don't actually remember exactly what the reason was, but they came out and said that they wanted to delay it till November.
I feel
apparently it was supposed to come out on April 10th,
and they were like, yeah, that's not very far away.
And they were like, "Yep, sorry, adios, amigos. You wait." So I don't know why necessarily this article that I linked to here didn't really necessarily give a good reason, but there you go. So James Bond fans, we talked about this a handful of episodes ago because the trailer dropped in our January one of the January ones. And we were pretty excited. I thought it looked pretty good, and we like James Bond stuff. But if you want the new one, you will be waiting until November now. and
Mm,
that's a bummer.
mm.
So there you go. I ruined your night.
You did. No, I don't even know what to do with myself. On the bright side, I was thinking I need to watch the first 4 Daniel Craig ones going into this, and I had not even started. And at this rate, I probably won't until, I don't know, October. So that kind of works out.
Yeah, you have plenty of time now. Plenty of time now to catch up on your James Bond. So
I'm also very much looking forward to this Christmas when the new Dune movie comes out.
coronavirus related. Yes, all those movies are solid. I also am excited to see a new Dune movie. So that ties with our first there, that Max there was in the original Dune movie, which is something. I actually went back and rewatched that probably a year ago. It had been a very long time, and it's interesting.
It's yeah,
For
it's
the
not a
time, actually, it's probably pretty cool for the time, because
yes.
that must predate us, right? Was that 70s
It was no, it was
or
80s, but it was like
really
early
early 80s?
80s.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite an epic for its time for what it was.
right.
Um, it's one of your earlier appearances of Patrick Stewart
Yep,
in
absolutely.
like modern American sci-fi.
Yep. And are they making the new ones multi-part, or is it? Have you
I
heard?
believe so.
Seems like you could
Um,
easily do that with the length of that book.
yeah, I mean the book itself isn't incredibly long, but you can definitely easily take the first 3 books and kind of turn it into a 2 or 3 movie thing. The second book is a little there's a lot of plot to it, but it really meshes more with the third book to make one overall story.
I'm pretty sure I've
Um,
only read the first one, and I remember it being pretty dense. Like whether there was page count was high or not, but there was just a lot going on.
yeah, I mean I think the last iteration of it I saw was the Sci-Fi Channel one from like 2000 or something like that, and I'm pretty sure they did that in 3 parts, like a 3-part miniseries,
Right.
which 3 hours worth, which is probably about 2 movies. But I think I did hear that they were doing it in 2 parts as far as the original book. I just don't know where you draw the halfway point at.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Um, Spoilers. The only part I can really think of would be like after Paul and his mom, Lady Jessica, basically have been put out into the desert and they first encounter the Freeman, and basically like cutting it there.
Yeah, yeah. That like exile part is probably where you'd have to cut it.
But and that would make sense too because I've heard they're really trying to play up the whole imperial court, like noble houses, and trying to make it kind of Games of Thronesy, which there's definitely an element of that
Sure.
built into it. Um, but yeah, most of that stuff really is predominantly at the very beginning and very end of the book. So it would kind of make sense that if that was going to be your emphasis, that you would kind of split it in that spot. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, I
I
mean
can see it making more
that
sense.
exile part's where it kind of comes into like we're starting to grow the kid up and turn him into what he's eventually going to be by the end of the film. So I mean, it kind of makes sure. I guess that I mean that really does make sense that would be the 2 parts. So you got to have the fall of his house to begin the first part and kind of end on that almost kind of cliffhanger, and then him being exiled, and then him coming out of exile to ride some worms, get some spice. um, are the Beetlejuice worms related to Dune worms? Because they seem very similar, other than the stripes.
I'm sure that there was an influence. It'd be
Because
very hard for there not to be.
yeah, they seem very similar, other than they're a little goofier looking in their animation. So
I mean, let's face it, by the time Beetlejuice came out, anybody who was like a writer in Hollywood had almost certainly like at least heard of Dune.
yeah, you know what? Tremors too kind of has that same, like mouthy worm idea. So
But give George Lucas credit for all the desert planets that all the Star Warses have. Well, just Tatooine, I guess, in the George Lucas days. But he did not once go sample.
oh my goodness, Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones. Look at this. We have our 5-month subscription.
Ooh,
Thank you so very, very much for that support.
we
And
appreciate it.
I did not go way back, and my wife also had her 6-month way back there, like before
Ooh.
we got started. So thank you very much, hon. But yes, thank you, Bones. Thank you so very much for that Twitch Prime. And if anybody else is looking to support us in any way, shape, or form, that's probably the best way. If you have Amazon Prime, I just hit the mic, so you're welcome. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get a free Twitch Prime account and you can subscribe to us monthly, and it gives us a little tiny bit of cash to help buy things like mics and lights and
I'm grinning because I just remembered that I had to redo mine since I also subscribe because why not?
because why not? It lets us buy fun toys like this. Oh my goodness, look at that. 3 subs tonight.
So
So I don't think you've seen these live yet, but whoops, I just dropped one on the floor. So these are our microphones we got for board game night. What's in the box?
well, what's in the
Now
box?
I threw it on the floor.
What's in the box is apparently cheap equipment that gets bought for the channel and then gets thrown.
Yep,
around.
just get thrown around. So not super cheap, but not super expensive. All the support I've gotten. So we got one payout from. Well, I got one payout. I don't know what this Wii stuff is, Ryan, but
Yeah, I don't get any payout. Why do you think I subscribe? I don't get
And so this is one of the things we bought. So I know we've been teasing board game night for some time, but I actually have all the equipment ordered, I think, now that I need, other than maybe the playmat, and I'm not sure we need that. So we will
it's nice,
in
but I
short
don't think we need
order,
it.
in very short order, be setting up at least some test streams with some board games, and get all that rig set up. So it's way closer than ever before. All the stuff's ordered. I'm waiting for it to be here on Tuesday. Board game night coming soon. Stay tuned. I'm not sure when.
It'll be a thing.
It will be a
We'll
thing.
begin to explore all that there is
Yep.
to explore.
We'll have a definite motivation to do more of them, which will be nice. I don't have any board game news tonight. That would have been a good segue. I do have a game, though. If anybody had not seen this, apparently PlayStation Network has leaked a Project Maverick, which is some sort of Star Wars game. All it leaked was inside the store for a very short amount of time was a like cover photo, and it was of a Star Destroyer with some X-wings. Oops, don't do that. And so yeah, apparently there was a new Star Wars game that was not ever announced anywhere, and it's kind of under the radar. But it's called Project Maverick. No idea what it is,
Very cool.
but there you go. Star Wars stuff.
I'm excited, especially because I play a lot of PlayStation.
Well, I would assume it probably isn't an exclusive, but maybe it is. But PlayStation has a really long history, Sony in general, of accidentally leaking garbage. Like, was it Resident Evil remake? They did the same thing where the store like accidentally went live with the page for Resident Evil remake, and there's been a handful of those recently. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose to keep hype up, but
It could be.
it seems really odd that they can't keep somebody at some programmer at the store or whoever some manager or whatever from turning on the stores of games that haven't even been announced yet. There was another game recently where they put out like a little press release accidentally too, where it was like, oh hey, there's this, and everybody's like, what? And so
I will say that as a consumer, I do appreciate surprises.
I do appreciate surprises.
They're rare and few and far between, but I appreciate them when they happen. Also, Moose, Mysterium is a game that I should have played many times by now, but I still have not, and it kind of makes me sad because I do want to play it. It seems like a really really fun game. And if I am, and I might be wrong in
What
what
is
I'm
Mysterium?
remembering, I believe if I remember right, it's kind of a. I might be getting this mixed up with another game. Oh no, Mysterium I believe is like a murder mystery where one person plays a ghost and everybody else is in the house, and the ghost can only communicate through certain ways or certain aspects as they play through the game. Um, Moose, you can correct me if I am completely off on that. I think there's like a couple games that are kind of similar, but it is a from everything I've heard and read, it's very good. See, you should, you know, just randomly show up at Adam's house for the live stream, and we'll play it.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
100% a thing we could do. We totally could play it as a live stream one night. Yeah, murder mystery board game. Fancy. Look at that. Looks cool.
It is very cool.
7.3 on Board Game Geeks. That seems pretty high.
Yeah, it's not bad. Board game geeks can be pretty harsh.
Yeah, pretty much anything over a 7 to me is like, this is probably going to be worth it. I don't know if I've ever seen anything over an 8, honestly. Very rarely, if I have. I've even played games that are like in the 6s that are just super solid games. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of board games can be tricky ranking wise or even rating wise, just because it's some people like certain style games and will absolutely love it, and other people will be like, this is the worst type of game ever, and I don't want to ever touch
get
it
out of
again.
here with your settlers, you troll. You know better. For those who don't know better, I have kind of a hatred for settlers, and I know that's an
Kind
unpopular
of,
opinion.
kind of.
It is not my worst game. That is Monopoly. I hate Monopoly with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. But Settlers is something that annoys me. I think it is not nearly as good as everybody gives it credit for.
You have to appreciate Settlers for what it is, and what it is a fairly simple change in the board game landscape that happened in like the late 90s. Well, I
I
don't know when it happened. I think it was like early
I
2000s.
want to say it was in the early 2000s when everybody I knew got into it, but I would say that yes, I give it complete credit for when it came about. That it kind of, I feel like it was on the forefront of the board game revolution, if you want to call it that, where all of a sudden these more indie new games, because up until that time everybody was just playing Risk and Monopoly and Sorry and Trouble and Shoots and Ladders. Like,
Sure. I mean, there's always been other board games
sure,
that are kind of more creative, but like they never quite hit the niche where
mass
people
consumption.
actually bought them. And Catan really was like the first one that kind of was like, oh, things can be different than just
Strategio Star Wars Edition. Yes, that's the only board game I actually own.
the only one.
It's the only one you need, just one. But yeah, it totally was. It was like kind of that forefront. That's the first one I remember where it was like, hey, we're shaking this up a little bit. This is a game you've not seen before, and like lots of people are playing it. It's not a
Yeah,
deck of cards and it's not Monopoly, so it was
but it is a deck of cards, and it is kind of Monopoly.
sure, right. But at the end of the day, it is different. And since then, things have kind of exploded on that scene where like people are actually buying board games again. Hence your wall behind you.
I have too many,
Yeah,
but
you
I will
do.
never stop. That's not true. I kind of have stopped, but not quite. Um, but yeah, no. So I can appreciate Catan. I way overplayed Catan uh, back when I first discovered it, which was roughly 10 years ago. Um, I was living out in Toronto at the time, and a local there who was a friend of mine had it, and he would bring it to buy the school or the dorm where I was living. And we would just play for hours for like a year straight. And then I come home to visit family and people, and I was like, "You guys need to buy this." And I may have bought it at that point. And then by the time I got home, because I had introduced my family to it, almost like two or three people in my family had bought it, and like that was just kind of the beginning for like the last 10 years of board gameness. Um, my opinion of Ticket to Ride is that I like it more than Catan, and I think it's one of the games that I usually bring with me for people who are not very board gaming.
I have to admit, I've not played it yet, and I'm sad about that because I keep wanting to. And I finally bought a copy, but I bought it for my son, and it's junior. It's the junior version, which we will play at some point here. But I have not yet played Ticket to Ride, and that sounds like a really good game.
It's solid. It's again a very simple premise, kind of like
Yep.
Catan is. There is definitely still a random element to it, but there's a bit less of a random element in the sense that you can plan a bit better. Um, yeah, it's a solid game. I think it's a little more straightforward in some ways than Catan, and where it's more about just making good choices and less about sitting there really hoping a certain number comes up. Um, yeah, it's a good game. I like it.
This podcast bot is going crazy.
Ooh, I could click and become part of Downtrodden.
You could, which I think
Wait,
you
I
have like
already
two
am.
account. I think you have like 2 accounts on
Do I?
there.
I'm that special.
um, shut the bots off. They're annoying me. People actually talk. So the bots only talk after so many chat lines, and since people actually talking tonight, which is a great thing to admit, um, they are kind of going crazy. So excuse the weird dead air for a minute. What else are we playing? So what else are we playing? I feel like we haven't been playing anything recently, but
Well, I just had another family board game night where we continued our Gloomhaven campaign, which I'm always happy to talk about
oh,
Gloomhaven for like ever and ever.
we have to do that one of these days. Like one of these days, we'll have to set up like I don't know if anybody would be up for this, but almost like a Saturday. I'll ship the kids off to my parents' house for like a Saturday night, Saturday all Saturday, and then maybe we just sit up around the house or wherever because we don't have the kids,
Yeah,
and we stream like eight
board
hours
your board game.
of Gloomhaven. And we can switch games if it just gets too
Oh no,
boring. But
no, if we're gonna do Gloomhaven, we'll just do Gloomhaven.
I would be 100% down with just having like this weird marathon, like 8 hour Gloomhaven session where we just sit down and try to get through as
We'd
much as
probably
we
get
can.
through 3.5 campaigns, or not campaigns, but
That would be fun.
scenarios in like 8 hours.
At the
Take a
very least, maybe we do that for my birthday stream. I mean, that's a ways off, but they would give us time to get the board games kind of situated.
yeah.
Shut those off. Yeah, yeah. So, that's interesting. Our chat window just cleared on Streamlabs, so there we go.
Oh.
We're back. Yeah, so yeah, we'll have to look at that. We'll see if we'll get a sign up sheet or something. Figure out who would have time on a Saturday to play like 8 hours. Because on my birthday, I tend to try to find some stream time where I get to like the whole day. We raise some money for charity, so maybe we'll do that again. We'll see how that goes. That sounds like fun. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Where'd my notes go?
Speaking of Gloomhaven, I still don't know when they are doing the Kickstarter, but I am very much looking forward to Frosthaven, which is the official sequel to Gloomhaven.
Would you have to have played the first one?
Not at all.
Okay.
It is a sequel in the sense that it is based around another town, this time in the far northern wasteland, hence Frosthaven.
Right.
Um, and there are some pretty decent distinctions from what I've read between uh, Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. Mainly, Frosthaven is like a very far up outpost where things there really isn't much of anything prosperity wise. Um, or industry wise. So like the store really doesn't have anything, and so part of getting equipment and items is actually crafting them. So like when you're out doing missions, you collect raw materials more or less,
Sure.
and then you end up actually developing crafting skills with your characters.
That sounds awesome.
Yep, you can bring characters. Like the characters are pretty much compatible back and forth with Gloomhaven. So like you can bring your Gloomhaven characters into Frosthaven, and there are special rules for like bringing your already existing party and characters over. Um, Essentially, you get to bring. Again, this is still not even made yet, so this is just kind
Sure.
of projections. But essentially, you bring over like whatever you can carry as far as from the store there, and then you're pretty much on your own. Like you have to immediately get into the crafting system. Um, yeah, and there's like 16 new characters, a huge campaign.
Wow, 16.
Um,
Whew.
yeah, which is what the original Gloomhaven
Oh,
had.
does it?
But yeah,
I've never
it's
made that
huge.
far.
It's huge.
We've played
It's
like
huge.
2 or 3.
Or maybe it's 12. It's double digits for sure. But
I want to say we played like 2 or 3 times.
yeah, there's 6 starting characters, and I'm pretty sure it goes
They
up
all
to
have a
16.
second character that they.
I think it's more than a second one. Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
it's intense.
It's super intense. Are they? Do you know if has there been any rumors on whether they're going to focus more on having an app related to? Because I know that was something that made our Gloomhaven experiences a lot better. Is running like some kind of app to manage like the bad guys and their health and their debuffs and all that kind of stuff. Because if you had to do that wholeheartedly on the board seemed
just
like it was
using
a
the
huge pain in the
cards.
butt.
Yeah, I mean it's not undoable. But yeah, if you have an app, it's way easier. When I went out this weekend to my cousin's place, when I first got there, they had already done the first couple turns, just because I was tied up and they wanted to get started because it was already like 9:30 by the time I got there. So they had been using the cards because none of them had the app. So we played that whole first scenario just using the design card way, and it's not that much harder. It's just a couple extra piles of cards you have to
Sure.
flip over and shuffle. But when you have the app, it definitely makes it easier.
I just really like this idea of like the hybrid where you have the app that can keep track of all sorts of stuff without having to have a bunch of extra bits laying around.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And for a game that large, that's totally something that I like to see.
Yeah, I imagine that there would probably be something moving with that. I know with Gloomhaven, the designer was very upfront in saying that at least for Gloomhaven, he didn't really have any interest in designing any apps. He was more than happy to give input for. There's a couple apps out there that some like independent people
Right, because the
design.
ones you're using, right, are not official. Like there is not an
Correct.
official app, right?
But like when they reached out to him for like clarifications and stuff, he was immediately like, "Yeah, yeah, this is go do it. Here, you have my blessing. Here's what you need to
That's
know."
awesome. That's how it should be. And why wouldn't you? That just sells this product even more. So
Exactly. Exactly. Um, but yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if just because I know a lot of people do use those, if he ended up making that an official part of Frosthaven. But I haven't read anything about it. And knowing his attitude about it with the first one, he may not really care for this one either. When you
cool,
make
cool.
an incredibly high costing board game that everybody in the world seems to want to buy, you don't really need to worry too much about the app, apparently.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. In case we haven't mentioned it more than enough, we have purchased Clank Acquisitions Inc. or whatever
Yes.
it's called, which is a game Ryan is very excited to play. If he hasn't already played it behind my
I have
back,
not.
don't you lie to me.
I have not. Listen, I have enough original Clank with enough original Clank
Right,
expansions that I don't need to cheat.
right.
I'm waiting. I'm
So
waiting for this
so
stuff.
Clink is a game Ryan introduced us to some time ago. We ended up buying our own version of that. We've played that independently a handful of times. Ryan's brought it over a handful of times. Really like that game. So now they have a legacy version of that, which, if you're unfamiliar, is kind of what we're talking about with Gloomhaven, and we played Pandemic Legacy. And these are board games that evolve, and actually the game actually changes as you play through them. So like with Pandemic Legacy, there were times where you would have to rip cards up in the game and throw them away, or put stickers that don't come off the board type of a thing, or write on the cards. You can usually buy refill packs and reset the game, or they usually have some playable version of the game when you're done, so it's not a huge waste. But the meat and potatoes of it is you're evolving the board game
As
as
you
you
play
do
it.
playthroughs, and it changes in the universe a little bit that you're playing in, which makes it obviously a lot more interesting, a lot more replayable, that you're going through this like longer
Yep.
story arc. And that's what Gloomhaven is. And now we have a Clank version, which is a dungeon crawling game.
Uh,
There's a version of that.
a dungeon crawling deck builder.
Yes, deck builder. That's important because I like deck builders. That
That
is
they are good.
a super fun thing to do.
We should break out Trains again sometime, which is the most boring looking game on the face of the earth, but it is actually super fun
We should
and
break out
addicting.
Dominion again because I haven't played that in a long time. But you brought that over before, and that was like one of the
It,
first deck building games that you got me into. That or
it
Star
is
Realms.
it well Dominion is the original deck builder, so it's yeah. I probably brought that over to your place some time ago,
Long time ago.
long time ago. Which I have most of my Dominion sets, my base sets in a white long box now, so for easy keeping or carrying, and I just carry it around with me. Or if I'm like traveling with people, I would just throw it in the bottom of my carry-on luggage, and like we'll always have Dominion.
I love that game. All right.
I'll bring it for test filming on Saturday. How about that?
Yeah, so let's talk about Saturday for a second. Since we're doing this live. So I forgot we have our LAN party. So anybody out there that's
Oh,
listening and
okay.
likes watching me stream, on Saturday we have a LAN party, and I will be streaming from probably roughly 9 a.m., maybe a little earlier, till 5 to 6, just somewhere in there. I usually spend the day there. I help set up. I don't go the whole distance, because I usually stay until like 10 or 11. But I will probably be doing that, which means there's a good chance we won't have the energy to play board games on Saturday
Which makes
nights.
sense.
But I will keep you posted on that. We might do a test run, probably not. We might have to do it the weekend after. But we'll see about that.
We can push it back a bit. This is as we're getting closer to this weekend, the more and more busy this weekend looks. So
Sure.
I understand.
So we might not do it this weekend because I will be streaming a good chunk of Saturday already, and I have to take my equipment down, move it a ways, and then bring it back. So and set it all back up and everything that day. So there's a good chance that the house will not be in a situation to put board game night up on, and I'll be tired as all get out and stuff. So
yep.
But so yeah, everybody who's watching, watch on Saturday if you're not already gonna be there, because I know some of you like hopefully Moose and Bones and stuff will be there on Saturday at the LAN party, so you can be on camera and introduce yourself. Don't whatever, I don't care.
I mean, you can do whichever way, and by that I mean just do it.
Neat. So lots of streaming stuff, board game stuff. That's fun. What else we got? You want me to pull something out of my list?
Pull the list.
So I was reading this article about Emerald City Con. Do you know Emerald City Con?
I know of it in Seattle.
It
Emerald
is,
City.
Yep. Comic book.
One of the longest running small comic conventions in America.
Convention, correct. It's a deal. And apparently DC is pulled out of it 100% because they're pulling out of lots of things. But that one is kind of a hit. So they're actually, because, you know, people are going to complain, expecting to see all of DC's stuff there. And apparently there is nothing there. They're pulling completely out of it, and they had to offer people refunds. They're like, hey, we're still going to have the con. Come and have fun. It's going to be great. But if you were really looking forward to this particular thing, sorry, you can have a refund, I guess. And I'm trying to see if there was anything other than like, I don't remember reading what the actual reason was, which is probably a bad thing. Probably should have read that earlier. But I think it was just, for the most part, they were just dumping out of cons. It sounds like they were dumping out of Comic-Con. They were dumping out like all sorts, like the San Diego one and stuff too. So, and now that I'm reading it, it also looks like there is some talk about trying to avoid the coronavirus. I mean, so maybe that's mostly that. I don't know. But sorry, RIP Emerald City Con. You don't get any DC.
Did they get anything? Because I don't know if Marvel really regulars that one either.
I don't know. It does not say in the article. It just says that the show will go on.
I mean, you know, it works for the Cherry Capital Convention. So
the best con of the whole world. Maybe. If you guys are ever watching, I think you're the best con in the whole world. And though I have not been able to attend every single one, I do buy tickets for every single one, even if I don't make it. So
I buy tickets. I don't think I've bought tickets without showing up though. But I understand that idea.
Yeah, they sell them online most years, so I will usually, if I don't buy them online, there's actually been years that I just swung out there, grabbed some tickets, and just turned around and left because I was too busy to stay. I
have bought tickets despite being able to get in for free based off of the fact that my roommates run the game room and I can help out / volunteer with them. I shouldn't say that. When I'm there, I do help out whether I paid for the ticket or not. But I usually do buy the ticket anyway. So
who knows? Maybe we'll do something with the con one time.
Maybe.
If
only there was some sort of form one could fill out.
I did. I mean, what? So I guess we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. Spoilers. Is the cat being banished?
The most passive, lovely cat.
We'll introduce the podcast to our newest family member. His name is James Baxter. and he does not like being. He's not a lap cat. He's a good kitty though. Hi, buddy. So if anybody knows where that is, comment down below what that's from. James Baxter. You'll get extra geek credit. Hint: there are toys behind me that are related to the show it's from. What else? Speaking of DC stuff, we have our first look at the Batmobile. Have you seen that?
I am honestly just trying not to.
That's fair. That's fair. So there, the Matt Reeves, the director, actually just tweeted or Instagram us. I don't know what it was. Social media'd it out, and it basically looks like, I don't know, is it like a Charger or Camaro? I don't know. It's some. It doesn't look. It looks more like a car than a Batmobile, which is interesting. So it's like a car with some extra flair added onto it, which is almost Mad Max style, I would say. Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be a rear engine muscle car, which is kind of interesting. Which rear engine makes sense with the Batmobile, most of them are, but it's definitely interesting. It looks more like just like a kitted out, I don't know, Camaro Corvette hybrid. I don't really know what it's supposed to be, but it does look like a rear engine
But
muscle car, which is kind of interesting.
yeah, I mean, it's not the the Batmobile is like an interesting concept in and of itself, and like if you want to be practical about it, you pretty much have to do the Christopher Nolan thing and make a little tank.
Right.
If you're not going to be practical about it, I mean, I guess you can get away with doing almost anything. And
Sure.
I kind of feel like you shouldn't be practical about it. Like everything. I love the Christopher Nolan movies, but when you take Batman and you make him
Overly realistic.
completely realistic and believable, like it has its place. Obviously, those movies are fantastic, um, but you lose a part of like the comic bookiness. And so, like, I don't hate this. I would like to see a better picture rather than this one rear piece
There's a
that
front one too.
is. I don't see a front one, but that's okay.
Well, you're fired.
Oh nope, that's another
Just
rear one.
scroll down.
Oh, there it is. I can internets. Um, but
There's like three.
there's a
Yeah.
part of me that kind of loves the super long, like animated
Yeah,
series
that's where
slash
you got to
old
go,
school
right?
Batman ones.
You
Like,
got to go to the Batman the Animated Series, because to me that is the most iconic Batmobile ever, with the sliding cockpit and like the super long gothic hood.
yeah, and I mean most of the like 80s 90s Batman movies stuck relatively close to that. Some better than others, but the Batmobile is not the thing that
It's like an old Datsun. There you
that
go.
yeah. Yeah, the Batmobile can be cheesy, and I'm very happy with that. We'll see how this plays out.
It doesn't have. Oh no, it does kind of have. Actually, now that I'm re-looking at this, when I first saw it, it didn't seem to have like a rocket booster, which is kind of, I think, one of the key components. But the more I'm looking at this one in the rear, there is a cylinder-shaped exhaust right off the back of the. I'm not sure if that's where you can put the exhaust off the back of a motor like that, but that might actually be a rocket booster now that I'm looking at it. So as long as there's rocket
Yeah,
booster in the back and it's black, it's kind of, you've kind of ticked all the boxes that you have to tick. But I agree, Batman the Animated Series, which is probably my favorite Batman stuff of all time, so it's not really fair, is probably the most iconic car.
why
Um,
have you not dumped money onto the Kickstarter that is the animated series
Stop.
board game?
I want to so bad, but to get the board game, it's like $200.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, don't. Like, it looks good, but the figures don't come painted, which I understand some people are super happy about because they probably want to. I don't. I'm
I'll
sure.
loan you my paints.
I'm sure I could pay somebody to paint it. Let's see. And you know what's funny is stinking Facebook shows me this stupid ad like every single day,
They know.
and like the game looks. Is this the Gotham Chronicles one? Nope. That's not. That's
Well, there's two of them.
the animated series adventures. Yeah, this one. Yeah. So I mean, here's a link, not to the Kickstarter, I guess, but it's the
Board game.
IDW
Oh,
publishing
yeah.
page that kind of talks about the launch on Kickstarter. And it looks good. It looks really good. I like the idea. The miniatures look great. But to kickstart this thing, like if I remember, it was some insane amount, like $200 to get the board game.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is if you're going to kickstart a board game that features miniatures very, um, as like a primary part of it, you're usually looking at like 150 is cheap,
Sure.
and like upwards 200 if there's a lot of content, or to get like all the expansions and stuff. It's not uncommon.
Yeah, I 100% don't doubt that.
I mean, not saying that that makes it worth it or not, but it's typical.
But at the end of the day, I'm spending almost all my extra money on streaming stuff and kids. So,
But the chat wants us to stream this game.
well, I'm assuming that somebody who's addicted to board games probably has already started it at that point. But actually, this first series looks like it might only be 125. Shadow of the Bat, one copy of Batman the Animated Shadows of the Bat core box. So 125. That's actually not nearly as bad. There. I swear to God, there was one for 200, but maybe I'm out of my
Well,
mind.
there has been a couple Batman ones, and I'm looking to see
Because that's actually
because
the only level you can buy at. So hey, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. 125 actually, as much as that sounds insane for
isn't too
people who
bad.
don't listen to board game stuff, that's actually not too far outside the realm of okay. Because I mean that's what Gloomhaven ran at 120ish for a long time. I've seen it as low as 80, but I've seen it as high as 2 something when it was out of print for a little bit there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the Gotham
Oh
City
wait.
Chronicles is a different one, and that one probably would be 200.
Oh, this just
Um,
took forever to load. This says there's a 225 bundle, the all-in bundle. That must have been what I was looking at.
Probably. Also, I'm going to link to a different YouTube channel.
Oh my god, don't you dare show
I'm
other
gonna do it.
creators.
But this, like the first 2 seconds of this, you will see 3 giant boxes, which is part of why sometimes these games cost like 200 some odd dollars.
Oh,
It's
that's for the Chronicles. Oh,
yeah,
that's like 5 boxes, 6 boxes.
yeah, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Banned. You've been banned from the internet for showing somebody else's YouTube channel. Oh, this is shut up or yeah, shut up and
Yeah,
sit down. They can be linked all the time. Those guys are fantastic.
yeah, I love those guys.
Oh my god, that board
They
game is psychotic. There are so many bits.
yeah, it's there's so many. And that's there's so much that goes into that stuff. It is part of why the Mechs and Minions game that you and I played, I think once, but is right behind my head, right there. It's a relatively big box. Is such a deal because it's like $80, I think, if I remember right, 80 or $90. But it is like this big game. It has like 100 miniatures or something stupid in it. Um,
So I
yeah.
I just tried something weird. I'm actually showing them
Oh, did
part
you
of the
do?
YouTube video. And it's like panning around. That is the board game we're watching. Like that is
It's
quite
so
crazy.
intense.
Yeah. So that is intense. So I don't know. Now that I'm relooking at the thing is I'm gonna want the all in. That's probably what I looked at and was like, well, if I
That's what
want this,
that's.
I'm gonna want the all in, and that's $100 more dollars. Like,
And then you are like, well, I don't need to get all the expansions. And then like they'll be like, this is the Kickstarter exclusive. If you don't get it now, you'll never get it. And you're like,
yep,
but
yeah.
$200.
There's villain packs and minis that are all Kickstarter exclusives. And then usually, if you buy the base game and all the expansions, they end up being more than whatever the Kickstarter was going to be anyway.
A lot of time they're
Because there'll be
throwing
like
extra
sixty
stuff.
bucks per expansion or something. Oh man, man, I hate you so much.
It's for the channel, Adam. For the channel.
Well, this says there's only 3 days to go, so let's just go ahead and say that I can talk myself out of it for 3 days. I didn't realize this was so close to the end. They wanted $225,000, and they've so far got 1.2 million. So I don't know if they
Yep.
need my money for this or not.
So everybody, if you're in the chat, get into Adam's live streams throughout the next 3 days and tell him that you want to see Batman Shadow of the Bat played live
Yep.
on this channel.
So if we can get 10 subs, 10 more subs than I have now, not only will we unlock our next emote, but I will buy that game.
Let me make a few text messages here.
Oh wait, no, it had to be 100. Sorry. I just did the math in my head. It's only Mindy. Hey, yeah, God, Mindy, stop it. Don't encourage me.
Text him, Mindy, and call him ceaselessly.
I most definitely would like to play it though. So Ryan, are you backing it or?
No, listen, I have enough Kickstarters that I haven't even played yet.
You seriously aren't backing this one? Because that would maybe change my mind.
If I backed it, you would back it.
No, I'm saying if you're not backing it, maybe I need to. Somebody
I'm
needs
not
to.
backing it. No.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to the wife. We'll see how it goes. That's a lot of money. All right, Mindy. Well, you back it. Put your money where your mouth is.
I am saving up for Frosthaven, which is probably going to be like $200 some odd dollars. So I'm like, I need to cut back because I've been.
Yeah. And I'm just kidding, Mindy. You buy all sorts of games. You leave half of them at my house, so
it's true.
All right, so we'll talk about that at some point. We'll see if we can get that because it does look really good, and I love that whole universe out of that show. So
pour all the salt in the wounds.
All of it forever. What else? What else going on? Batmobile, get out of here. Speaking of more DC, did you see that they are doing the Justice League Dark Apocalypse animated movie? Excuse me.
I had seen that. I just assume that if it's a DC animated movie, it's at least halfway decent.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy Warner Brothers animated. Like I enjoy those way more than the movies. It's kind of a bummer. I almost like to see them do an extended universe play. Some of them do play into each other because I've watched a bunch of them, but they're not like tightly into each other. And sometimes they're just like, I just watched the Superman Red Sun, which may be something we can talk about. I don't know if you've seen that animated movie.
I haven't seen it, but I've definitely read the original storyline.
Right.
As far as comics and whatnot. Mark Miller doing DC, not a common thing, but.
Right. So, and that was fun. I really enjoyed I did not read the comic books. I don't own them. But I did enjoy the animated show. They do a great job. The one thing is they all look the same. Like they have the exact same styling, which I understand they have their crew. They all do it in house. So, and that's kind of nice and familiar with everything.
And it has shifted a bit too. Like back in the early days, it was that Bruce Timm, Batman the animated series, looking thing. But now they've kind of shifted away from that kind of cartoony. I mean, it's still cartoon, but it's more slick.
Nightwing 2020 trailer. I guess I have not seen this teaser. So it looks like there's a Nightwing 2020. Is this live action or is this
This looks like.
I think I heard that they were making a Nightwing movie, but I have not heard that there was an actual. These are all fakes that I'm looking at here. So
yeah.
I
think the closest thing to a Nightwing trailer you're going to see is the horrible, and I mean I wanted to love it, and I still think it was horrible, Titans TV show live action.
I didn't even watch it. Like I looked at the trailer and was just like, nope, I'm out. And I like the Teen Titans. Like
I watched the first one and I was like, this is not good, but I'll watch the second one. And then I watched like half of the second episode and I was out. I do want to watch Doom Patrol though, because that looks good. And I've seen the first episode. It's also not great, but it's more interesting than Titans. So,
have you watched a show called The Boys?
Have I watched The Boys? No, because I like to keep my soul intact.
Do you know what I'm talking about? The Amazon.
I do know what you're talking about. Yep.
We talked about a lot of Amazon shows, I think, in the last one, but
we did. I don't think we talked about The Boys though.
So The Boys is like we might have, because we talked about Powers, and I feel like they're loosely in the same kind of idea that you get the like behind the curtain look at like what if superheroes were actually like a thing, and like what would happen in the back end because they're still human and it's all this drama, and you know not everybody's gonna be Superman, where it's the American way and justice for all type stuff. So like I'm sure they're corrupt. I'm sure there's all sorts of drama, and that's what they kind of show. You dug Powers Spectre? All right. And you may have been one of the ones who was talking to me about it. But I've had a couple people now tell me, and then
Did he
apparently they're
dig
making another
Powers or did
season.
he
Or I'm sorry, The Boys.
the boys?
And the apparently there's another season coming out. I saw some kind of trailer that they
Yeah.
are popping out. So I'm in the middle of. I'll try to avoid anime since I talked about nothing but anime last episode. But I just finished up another series on Netflix, and I'm watching through now the Castlevania season 3 anime. But maybe when I'm done with that, I will try to make it through The Boys.
I've heard good things. I mean, it's another Garth Ennis cartoon, goodness, comic book series that has been turned into a TV series. Which Preacher is the other one that was on AMC, which I believe is done now. I think they had their final
I
season.
want to say that is done.
If
Which
it's not done, it has like one more short season, but I think it is done at this point. Um, but yeah, Dart, all of his stuff kind of just has this like bit of a dark twistedness
oh,
to
it's
it,
super dark.
which people, I mean, obviously
Preacher
that's
is
what people
super
eats up.
dark.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not even a bit twisted. It's
It,
super
it
twisted.
it is, it is. And from what I've heard and just what I know of the comics, the boys is kind of like that, but with superheroes. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of over the top, I guess what I would call like HBO gritty. This is how bad it could be, sort of stuff in it. Um, which I mean is interesting in its own way. It's basically a hard, deep, dark R Watchmen. Is kind of how I would look at it, if that makes sense.
I'm
Not
gonna
that
give
the
it a shot.
Watchmen aren't R, but yeah.
I like that type of stuff. Speaking of, well, like if it's Witcher, kind of related from the writer or whatever. I like The Witcher. Or no, I'm sorry, not The Witcher. Preacher. Way off. Way off. The Preacher series was actually really good. I really enjoyed how that started. I made it. I want to say into the third season, and then it just gets really weird, and I just stopped.
Mhm.
Like I just wasn't motivated to go back. I want to go back and finish it because I'm quite a ways into it, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I just couldn't keep going. If anybody's watched Preacher, which I recommend if you like weird twisted stuff and it's really out there, like it's outside the box for sure. It's a good show. It's about a guy who his dad was a preacher and he watches him get killed. There's all these spoilers I'm going to give you, but
But that's
he
all
ends
stuff
up.
that's established very early,
It's
so it's
very
not.
early,
Yeah,
but he ends up basically with the voice of God, and like hijinks ensue, and people are after him for it, and it's pretty crazy. It's really outside the box. I love the way they end season 1. I won't say what that is because it's just fun. But yeah, it was really good. But then it gets in this weird stuff later on, and I don't know. I didn't stick up with it, which I tend to fizzle out in like season 3 of most shows. So that's kind of more me
yeah.
than the show probably. But it did not beat my fizzle, so I'll try to go back and finish it up. But yeah, if you're looking for something really weird outside the box and twisted, Preacher is definitely there. So if The Boys is in that same vein, just like with actual superheroes and stuff, I'll be interested to watch it. So I should go. I should give it a try.
Give her a watch. Let us know how you feel about it.
Oh, I will. No doubt about that. I will tell you how I feel about everything. That's why you're watching me, right? Oh, the apocalypse thing. Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit too, which was so a new animated movie. All right, there we're done. But it's a big mashup between Justice League, Teen Titans, and Justice League Dark, which kind of brings up what's his name, the Constantine. So kind of related. The reason I'm bringing this up is it helps me segue into one of my favorite and completely underrated comic book movies of all time, which is the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie.
It is a great movie.
I absolutely love that movie, and I've heard people don't like that movie, and I don't like those people now.
That movie has always had people who are like, I think it's people who wanted like a spiritual Matrix,
Ah,
and because it came out shortly after, it
yep.
might have been between some of the Matrix movies. I don't remember where exactly it fits in there, but like I loved it because it felt like a movie based on Catholic mythology, for lack of a better way of saying it. Like I don't know quite. That's not quite the right phrasing for it, but maybe Catholic mysticism. I don't know, but it clicked a lot of dots or check boxes for me, and
Yeah,
I
it's
just
steeped in it
really
heavily
really
for
liked
sure.
that movie.
So this is pretty late. It's 2005. I don't remember when the other Matrix movies came out.
It might have been just after them then, because I know the first one was what 99, and then the other
7.
two came in really quick.
I thought it was
But
97 was the first one, but
it might have been. I was
regardless, yeah, I feel like I don't know what people were expecting. I kind of went in this movie not expecting anything, I guess, other than hey, Keanu Reeves is playing this thing, and I know it's a comic book character, which I didn't know really anything about because I don't pay attention to DC, and that guy's kind of way out there in DC. If I
mhm.
would guess, most people do not know who Constantine is.
Those who do, like from a comic book standpoint, like a lot of people didn't like him because the two of the primary things about a comic book character is the way he looks,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the case of John Constantine, he is a angry, bitter Englishman.
British, yeah, he's British. Yeah.
And so like for Keanu Reeves, who is doesn't look at all like him, he's not blonde, he's got dark hair, he's very much not British in any way. He doesn't have the accent, he doesn't really have the attitude.
Right.
Um, like I from a character standpoint, I kind of get it. From a movie standpoint, it is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I would agree that because I've obviously gone back and seen a bunch of other Constantine stuff since then. And I would say that if I was a big comic book nerd when the movie came out, that would probably be a gripe I had too. So I will give them that. But put that aside, I think it checks, like you said, a lot of boxes. It's super
Yeah.
good. That noir, occult, kind of detective, almost supernatural. Super good. Super good.
Matt Ryan does do a good job of playing Constantine in the Arrowverse.
The Arrowverse.
Yes,
Is that who plays him in the Arrowverse?
it is.
So did you ever watch the NBC show Constantine?
That is the Constantine that's in
It's
the
the same one
Arrowverse.
as the one they brought.
Yep.
Oh, they brought
They
him
brought
over.
him into the Legends of Tomorrow and into the
Oh,
Arrow series after his show got canceled.
very
So it's the
nice.
same guy. Yeah.
So I actually watched some of that. That's actually where I learned he was British and had blonde hair. And I was like, oh, okay, this is nothing like I was expecting. So I went and looked up more stuff and actually read a little bit of his stuff. And so he actually got moved over to nice. I thought he did a great job. The show was kind of lackluster, but budgets and things I think were in the way. But I didn't hate the show. It felt like was it called Supernatural? There's
Oh yeah, the CW show
yeah,
that's
like
been on for like 15 years
yeah,
or something.
it felt kind of cheesy like that. What was that other one that was super? Shoot, I'm not gonna remember it.
Oh, what are you talking about? Grimm?
No, Sci-Fi
No, not
had a
Grimm.
show that was like a cult detective that ran for a couple seasons.
Oh, Dresden.
Yeah,
Dresden
Dresden
Files,
Files. Oh my
which
god.
is based on a huge series of novels, which
Yes,
are I've only read the first two, but they're pretty good. Like
I
I
haven't read any
actually
of
really
them,
liked
but
it.
I really enjoyed that show, The Dresden Files.
He's basically a private eye who happens to be a wizard living in Chicago.
Yep, and
And
there's a lot of
it's a
occult type
great
stuff.
premise. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So if very Constantine style stuff too, like yeah, it and it's just really well done. Like it's not like the budget on it is not great. It was short lived, unfortunately, but if you get a chance to go back and that interests you at all, like that Constantine level occult detective stuff, the Dresden Files were really well done. Like the main guy does a great job. It's pretty well written. It's just got a sci-fi budget, sci-fi channel budget.
I
So it gets a
feel
little
like
cheesy, but
I feel
is it on
like I had
sci-fi?
just recently heard something about some new um,
Clickety clack clack clack.
do 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 do.
Dead
There
air.
is a Dresden Files cooperative card game
We will find all the Dresden File stuff on the internet and buy it right now.
right now.
Right now.
But no, I thought I had just seen some news recently, and I didn't obviously write
Oh, it
it
looks
down
like
or
they only did
anything.
one season.
Yeah, it's the TV show didn't go very long.
It was so good though. It's got a user score on Google of 93%.
That's pretty good.
IMDb is 7.7 out of 10. People are smart. So the critics on Rotten Tomatoes didn't like it, but the average audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 100%. So good. I'm not alone in the universe. That show was quite good. And
it does look. I'm trying to see how legit this looks, but never mind. That was like 2 years ago, and it obviously didn't happen. But I could have sworn I had just seen something recently um, about a new iteration of it in some way, shape, or form, and now it's going to drive me nuts because I don't see anything very quickly online. But
fine.
yeah, it's all right.
Dresden Files, go watch it. Constantine, the Keanu Reeves ones, go watch it. It's super good.
And the guy who was Black Canary's dad and the police chief in Arrow was Dresden, apparently. Who would have thought?
Oh, Blackthorn, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The actor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. I like that.
Well, is that? I don't know. Maybe that's not who he is.
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Looks like him. Oh yeah, he was definitely the Arrow guy. Okay. Yeah.
His name is Paul Blackthorn.
He is a person who acts.
And it says he plays an Arrow. So I would assume that's enough for me to believe your story, Mr. Ryan.
Because I know things.
You do know things. But yes, watch all those things. They're super good. Let's see. What else? That's all the DC news I kind of had. Batman, the animated short with Justice League Black. End of Days, is that the Arnold Schwarzenegger one? I don't remember. Because if that is, then no. Actually, I will tell you what. From a certain level, I really do appreciate it because it's Arnold, and I'm a sucker for Arnold movies, but that movie is bad.
Speaking of Arnold, what about the Jackie Chan Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that is coming out? I think this year.
I didn't even know this is the thing.
Oh my goodness. It looks horrible.
Die Hard, thank you so much for the lurk. I appreciate it. The Iron Mask.
That sounds right. I just saw like a preview for it like a week or two ago, and Arnold Schwarzenegger basically plays this giant like imperial redcoat.
It looks like a play.
It looks like it's just going to be a massive cheese fest.
It does look super cheesy, but I might be okay
I'm,
with it.
I'm down with that. Yeah, I mean, like that's what I expect out of an Arnold Schwarzenegger Jackie Chan movie made in 2020.
It almost looks like a really high production stage play with the way the sets are.
Picard is still crap.
I really. You showed up. I was actually going to talk about Brian there sent me a link to, if anybody hasn't seen it, there is apparently a trailer for the new Mortal Kombat movie. There's an animated movie coming out called Scorpion's Revenge, which looks super ultra violent, like it should. I watched the trailer today. It no tiny URLs. Who knows what that is? Don't click tiny URLs. They're all viruses. What gets 85% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Picard.
For Picard. It's from me. It's safe. I won't believe that at all. On Rotten Tomatoes, Picard, we totally transitioned away from my Mortal Kombat. But anyway, the Mortal Kombat trailer looks actually kind of sick. It's super violent. It does like the X-ray thing that the game does, where like people are dying. It's all kind of around the idea of Scorpions joining the tournament. So, looks very original Mortal Kombat-ish. I don't know. It looks pretty good. Warner Brothers animation looks like they did it. Honestly, it looks very much in their vein, but it's kind of more anime. But that looks pretty cool. So thank you, Brian, for sending me that. I'm excited. That comes out August, somewhere down it's later this year. Straight to DVD. If our DVDs a thing still,
I think it actually are
April, yeah. So if we're gonna bring Picard up, I was trying to avoid this conversation because it's been like every single week. I am caught up on Picard still. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, the user audience score is only 64%, which still seems way too high to me. The tomato meter for the approved critics is 90%, and that's all garbage. There's no way. That's all paid for garbage. Super bad. The latest episode was interesting. It's the Riker episode. So anybody who's been watching the trailers, they're trying to slowly introduce all the, like, it's basically the grand detour of Picard before he's gone. Right. So we're meeting a bunch of old cast members. We're anything that's like nostalgic Star Trek. And this episode, I actually could say, is probably one of the better ones because they spend a whole lot of time not putting themselves in situations that's decisively not Star Trek. And it's kind of just Jonathan Frakes, who plays Riker, and Picard, like hanging out with Troy. Diana Troy's there. And people do like Patrick Stewart, and that is the only reason I'm sticking into the show right now, because I adore Patrick Stewart and I want to watch him in everything that I can, but the show is bad. But at least this last episode was watchable because it was kind of just the banter between some Diana Troy and Riker and him, and just kind of talking and reminiscing, and you know, it was fun. It was fun. The most of the episode was that, and I appreciated that. But everything else about this show is just so god awful. The writing is bad. The plot lines are bad. The motivations of people are bad. There's like no arcs. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just super weird. I'm probably not going to do it justice. But if you really want to get into people making like super good fun of it, go watch the Red Letter Media reviews they've been doing, because it's.
And they've actually been doing it regularly too. Which...
Yeah, they seem to hate their lives for it, but they are like coming out and like reviewing 2 episodes at a time or something. Last one I watched was a little behind, but
which they are pretty well proclaimed Star Trek fans, and with Discovery,
Mike is for sure the main guy.
Yeah.
He is like super nerdy when it comes to Star Trek.
But like with Discovery, which they hate super bad as well.
It's super bad.
They couldn't keep it going with their reviews regularly, so they basically did like the first episode, and then they did like a half season review. But with Picard, they're actually doing it like every episode. So that,
well, I will give Picard this, and maybe it's just Patrick Stewart. It's better than Star Trek Discovery in my mind. Like, it feels better than that. Star Trek Discovery is pure garbage, where this is just kind of garbage. Like, it's
partially garbage.
Yeah, it's mostly garbage. I wouldn't say partially, but it's not as garbagey as Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery was pretty bad. And at the risk of trigger warning here, what's funny about Star Trek Discovery is they obviously go really hard in the paint to have strong female protagonists and all that kind of stuff, which is good, great, whatever. But the show is so bad, and the only good episodes I enjoyed in STD, yes, it is shortened to STD, is when Pike comes in, which, if anybody remembers, Pike was actually the original OG Enterprise captain that when they did like the pilot that they ended up replacing with Kirk, and which is good because Kirk's amazing.
And whom lore-wise they brought back eventually, and made the pilot an official part of.
It's canon. He's canon, and it's canon. But they brought him into this show, which is kind of redunculous. But the guy who plays Pike in his character is actually pretty decent, and he's the closest thing to anything entertaining. So, like, the writers can't even, like, there's an entire room dedicated to their only mission, it seems like, is not to go into space and find strange new worlds. It's just to finally write some sci-fi female protagonist, which good. We did that with Janeway already. I don't understand why that's not a thing, but whatever. Janeway's amazing. Like, I liked Voyager a lot. But they come in and they fail, and then they end up writing a better character in Pike, which is a strong male lead. So, like, to me, the whole premise of the show is we're not here to do Star Trek. We're here to SJW ourselves out. And then they failed and ended up making like a good male character. And I'm like, come on. Like, I don't want to read too much of that. I don't want to get into that rabbit hole, but Jesus, guys, come on. Like, ultra fail, right?
Ultra fail.
And I would say even the very early episodes of STD, the original captain, who was a male, was also probably the best part of season 1, and then Pike is definitely the best part of season 2. Like they're obviously trying to write around that. I don't know. It's silly. It's Star Trek Discovery is super bad. The spore
More,
drive thing is super bad. The like it is really really bad Trek, and it makes no sense. So I've written that one off completely. Now Picard gets weird because Picard is like quintessential Trek. It should be anyway. But they don't know. They don't understand Picard. They don't understand the universe he comes from, and they don't. I would wager that nobody in that writing room has ever actually sat down and watched TNG at all. Like if they've, other than they read through some like, there's probably an omnibus book somewhere that's like the Star Trek Encyclopedia, and they just flipped through that and saw, oh, Locutus, oh, Borg, oh, Romulan. Okay, there we have our plot. But nobody actually
I
sat down and watched those shows.
I give them enough credit to say that they probably brought it up on Netflix or wherever it was streaming at the time and just had it playing in the background where they did other things, just enough so that they kind of saw things, but they didn't really understand what was happening.
Right.
That's my guess.
It's
Um,
bonkers.
Moral of the story: just watch the Orville.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I was late to the Orville. I thought it was going to be stupid because Seth MacFarlane is a joker and doesn't take anything seriously, and he's willing to shit on everything. And I'll admit it, it's a bit of a golden calf for me. I love Star Trek a lot, and I didn't want him to shit on that for me. I'm sure other people will find it funny, so I avoided it. And finally, somebody at work convinced me that no, I should go watch this, and I gave it a try. And other than the random occasional out of place fart joke, which is rare and not enough to distract you from the show,
Mm-hmm.
it's the best Star Trek that's been made since Voyager, easily. Like it follows the
Yeah, okay.
formula.
I'm gonna say Enterprise wasn't bad.
Enterprise wasn't terrible. I mean, especially compared to the new stuff. But by the time it came out, it was the weakest of all the shows to me.
That's probably true.
Um, and maybe that was just because I hated the intro music. I don't know, but it was still Trek though. Like it was Trek.
Yeah,
I have fond memories of staying up late and watching it with my dad because that one came on later at night, and we would watch that show together quite a bit. And I watched a lot of it, and it was fine. It was okay, but compared to TNG, it was nowhere near. And I would say both DS9 and Voyager were stronger shows for sure, especially
certainly
later
after
DS9.
yeah, I was gonna say the first few seasons of DS9 were kind of painful,
The
but it got
very
better.
first one is super painful to watch. Actually, I went back and I've rewatched a good chunk of that, and I remembered it being painful, but it is still definitely. You should. I really enjoy the Orville. I'm waiting for it to come back. Like there seems to be some hemming and hawing about when it's going to be brought back, and I hope that doesn't mean bad things.
And for those of you who haven't seen it, it's definitely written as like a comedy show, but it's yeah, he it also it's like tongue in cheek but takes it seriously all at the same time.
You
And
can
it's
tell he's a Trekkie.
yeah,
Like he understands Trek. Like he gets it. But he's writing it from his perspective, which he's a
sure.
comedy
It's
writer. But it's not distracting, like you said. It is
yeah,
Trek. Like it works,
absolutely.
and the timing's quite good. They'll introduce like a serious plot. Like there's a great episode where they find a planet whose entire social program is based on Reddit. Right, so like there is a score, there's an up and down karma arrow essentially. Like they don't call it Reddit, but that's it. And so
Yep.
everything you do kind of ends up on this public internet, and then people will upvote it and downvote it. And if you get enough downvotes on something, you actually end up being prosecuted. You got to go through an apology tour to see if you can get your score back up. If you don't get it back up, then you get lobotomized. Like it's dark. Like
This reminds me a lot of China, number one.
yes,
Uh,
credit like social credit score.
yep. Number two, an episode of Community.
I didn't watch
But
Community.
I know, and I'm still
I'm a sad person.
no.
So the difference between the China reference is that China like gives you that from the government perspective, where this is like a community driven version, but the government doesn't force the lobotomy. So
See,
you
see now,
go watch Community. I've watched some Community, and it is very good. I have not stuck it through and watched it all of it. But back to the Orville for a second, is like that episode is great because it's dark and that's the quintessential formula from Roddenberry, which is we take our species at its highest amount and put them in situations with like new planets where they discover something we shouldn't be doing nowadays currently, and that's a thing. And then but the nice thing is he breaks up that darkness with comedy in the show enough to like his timing's really good in the Orville, where like you're going through this very dark subject and this kind of heavy subject, and his jokes are just light enough to like kind of break it up and help you like get through it without just being drugged into the mud. So
Yeah.
it's good. Really should watch the Orville if you like Star Trek. I highly recommend it. But yes, I am a fuck. I am sorry. I should watch Community.
How dare you? How dare you? No.
That's up there on my list with things like Community's the college one. What's the Rec and Park or Park and Recs? That's another one that I have not watched that everybody yells at me for.
That one is worth watching. Like, I get in trouble for this. This is people hating on me now. But I feel like the best parts of The Office are better than the best parts of Parks and Rec. But I think Parks and Rec on an episode by episode basis is better, like all the way through.
I feel
And
like they start to lose the Office motif of like the reality show later, don't they? Do they start to?
um, I mean, they stick to the fact that it's a reality show pretty hard all the way to the end, but they definitely kind of loosen up some of the storytelling.
I think I
In the
watched the
sense
first season, and that's as far as I got on both those
of The
shows.
Office.
No, I watched The
Oh,
Office. No, I meant Park and Recs or whatever it's called. The Office I watched all the way through Pam and Jim's marriage, and I was like, I'm done. Like I
yep,
have nothing else to care about in this show. The entire show for me was their tension and trying to figure out them and the struggles they had. And once that struggle went away, then it was like I there's nothing holding me in the show. Plus, you lose what's his name as the boss at some point, and like
yeah, that's
that
really
was
like the
after.
last
But
two or three
yeah,
seasons, or last two seasons
Will
maybe.
Ferrell or something showed up. I didn't watch any of that because once they got married, I was just done.
Yeah, yeah, I did not keep up with it after the marriage either. Like I've seen parts of it here and there, and I've seen probably episodes from every era of it since then. Like after Michael left and all the other stuff, but it, yeah, The Office was Jim and Pam's tension, and yeah, I
Right.
agree.
It was
I
like the
agree 100%.
yeah, good. Oh, we have a consensus then. Nerd court adjourned.
But Parks and Rec was like the first season, kind of like The Office's first season. It's short; it's only like 6 episodes, and it feels very forced in a lot of ways. But I think Parks and Rec. I can't even talk. Park and Rec. Nope, I
Parks
can't say it. Parks
and
and Rec.
Rec.
Um, really like immediately with the start of season two was just like bam, 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 and it, yeah, it really works as a show. It's worth watching. Community is still better, but Parks and Recs is wonderful.
I really liked Community when I watched. I've been lazy and it's somewhere in a backlog and I just haven't done it. Oh man, that's a lot of
So
TV.
let's talk about the new Indiana Jones movie that's in the works.
What? Is that a thing?
Featuring Harrison Ford
What?
coming back again as Indiana Jones, and was originally set up with Steven Spielberg to direct again, but he has recently pulled out as director.
Oh, that's a good sign.
He's still producing it, but it is
Yeah.
probably it might not be a bad sign that he's not directing. And the man they have lined up to do it is the man of recent Ford versus Ferrari fame, but also Logan and the Wolverine movie, and also Walk the Line and various other movies that I did not realize were so great that are great. Um, Now I can't even find his name. James Mangold.
I don't know who that is.
Well, he's the director of the movies I just mentioned.
Oh, he's the director. Okay.
Yeah, specifically, I was thinking of Logan,
Oh, Logan's
which,
fantastic.
yes, and I think as an old man Indiana Jones director, I think he could pull this off.
Obviously, Ford and Ferrari was super good. Walk the Line was good. The
Yeah,
Wolverine honestly wasn't terrible. Like,
it wasn't. It was way better. Well, first of all it had to do was be better than Origins,
which
which
is not like
not hard.
you literally can't not be better than Wolverine Origins. Like that
It's
movie is
it's true.
the most garbage of garbage. I actually thought the Wolverine was fairly entertaining. It was not amazing, but it was not bad, and it was a Wolverine story for sure. And I didn't hate it. I liked that it was like the first one that kind of went a little more violent, which was nice for Wolverine. But so
Yes.
this guy is making a new Indiana Jones 5, huh? The best Deadpool? Don't at me. uh yeah, I'm clacking my chair. I'm sure that sounds great in the mic. But yeah, the worst Deadpool ever. I'm so glad Ryan Reynolds was able to survive that to play like the actual Deadpool.
Played again, him again, yeah.
Yep, and make fun of himself for doing it, which is great.
Um, but yeah, like I mean, looking through here, even the movies that aren't necessarily known as great movies, but like 310 to Yuma, like that was a solid Western
Oh yeah,
movie.
no,
Like
that's a
that
great
was a
movie.
great movie. Night and Day, I don't think I ever ended up watching, but
That's
it
good.
looked fun.
No, it's
Like it
really
looked
good.
like a movie I wanted to watch.
Yeah,
Identity back in 2003 was a great movie.
this guy's done all that, man. Yeah, those
Yeah,
are good
he's
credentials. Yeah, if you want like a weird rom-com action, like I wouldn't necessarily put it as good as Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I really enjoyed, but it is up there, and I don't think a lot of people gave it credit, but that because Night and Day is the Tom
that's the
Cruise
Tom
movie, right?
Cruise
Yeah,
and yeah,
whatever her name
um,
is,
the
the
blonde,
Charlie Angels girl that I'm not gonna remember. I don't care.
Cameron Diaz.
Yes, that sounds
Yeah,
right. Or
yeah,
Gwyneth
sure.
No, Cameron Diaz. I think that sounds right. Fan for Gamer,
The,
thank you for that host. Hack the planet. Thank you very
bring it in.
much. Man, internet hugs. But no, it's actually like, for lack of a better term, cute. It's extremely cute. Like the action's pretty good. Like and it's a little rom-com like thing where he's obviously like super spy and she's caught up in this mess, and it's a thing, and it's actually pretty good.
So all that to say, they're supposedly going to be shooting that Indiana Jones movie sometime this year. So it's really early in pre-production, but early enough that while Harrison Ford's been running around doing his publicity for the um, White Fang or whatever the hell movie he's been doing recently, where the Call the Wild. There we go. That's the one.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
Disney Plus. I'd say Disney Plus show, The Call of
it,
Wild,
well, it's not. If it's not a show,
or
it's
movie.
definitely
Yeah, movie.
definitely a movie, which apparently has more or less tanked in the
White Claw.
theaters. White Claw.
Oh, it went in the theaters. I was under
Yeah,
the impression that was like a Disney Plus exclusive, like just movie. I didn't realize it was like an actual.
it came out like 2 weekends ago, and this week it was already down to like one showing a day. It's like,
Ooh,
oh yeah, that's not a good
oof,
sign.
oof. Worst drink ever. Anywho, later. Thank you, Spectre, for showing up and hanging out with us.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
have a great
appreciate it.
night.
Go drink some White Claws for us.
I mean, you can stay up till 2:00 in the morning every other night of the week, but podcast night, I gotta go to bed at 10:30. Sorry. Barf. Yeah, so that looks interesting, I guess. It looks like they pushed back a couple times. They announced this 2016, and it looks like it's now slated to come out July 9th of 2021. Rip.
Yeah.
So that's neat.
Yeah, they're really just spending a lot of time to make sure they have a script that everybody's happy with, which from the interview that I heard really just means a script that Harrison Ford doesn't think is complete crap, which is fair.
He'll probably make them kill him off in this. I never want to do one of these damn movies again.
That was pretty good Harrison Ford.
It's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible. I did not know that was coming out, though. I love Indiana Jones, obviously, because I'm a child of the 80s. How could you not? Absolutely love The Last Crusade. I think that is like just the epitome of awesome. I like them all, but that one is in particular just amazing. The Crystal Skull bullshit, though, is fucking terrible.
It was not good. It had a few moments, but it
It
was
had a
not
few
good.
shitty moments, like, and as much as I hate Shia LaBeouf, like he was fine in the movie too. Like I wanted that to work, but when he's swinging through the monkey trees and like the alien garbage, like I did none of that. Man, I hated that crap.
Yep.
I was like back to the occult stuff. Like keep it in that vein if you're gonna do anything. Like because that's most of the movies up to that point were like kind of occultish type stuff with the Grail and like the dark magic in the caves and Temple of Doom stuff. Like
Hmm.
all that stuff is super cool. It fit right in perfectly. Now all of a sudden we're talking aliens. Like Hitler's looking for alien. Get out of here. It's so bad.
Yeah, it was not good.
I'm just mad. um I like Harrison Ford in that, obviously. He does fine. And then the lady they bring back, she's great in that too, actually. I felt, but the story wrapped around it was just so. Didn't they start that fucking movie with him getting in a stinking fridge and getting blown up by a nuclear bomb?
Yes, I forgot
Like,
about that, but
come
yes,
on.
they did. Like,
Like
oh, just
who who
hanging
wrote
out in a
that?
test zone. It's hide in the fridge. He'll be
Just
fine.
he'll be fine. Like I know maybe in the 40s and 50s they had lead paint on stuff, but really, you were blown up by a nuclear bomb and survive it in your fucking fridge? No,
It's ridiculous.
that's such a terrible movie. That's so sad.
Maybe they'll use that as an excuse to have him look as old as he does in this movie without necessarily aging him as long as it's been.
Do they
Maybe.
say anywhere like when this is supposed to take place, or is it
Nah,
like
I have no idea. Supposedly they were supposed to be bringing Sheila LaBeouf back, but I don't. I think they're setting up something
Le
like
Buffet?
LaBeouf.
Weird transition. His actual episode of Hot Ones, if anybody hasn't watched that, it's a YouTube channel where people have hot wings while they're being asked questions, and Chris Evans, I think is the guy's name who runs the show. Or at least he's the personality on it. Super good show. Like if you
Chris
like,
Evans, as in
no,
Captain America.
maybe it's no,
That
it's
doesn't
not.
seem right.
Hot Wings with
I mean, he did play the Human Torch, so there's some correlation there, I suppose.
something Evans. Uh, how am I looking this up and he's not like the first thing that's on the page?
It's very easy.
Um, Sean Evans. Okay, I was close. That's close. Come on. So Sean Evans is the host. He does, and there's actually an episode with Shia LaBeouf, and I didn't hate it. Like that's the first thing I've ever seen him in outside of a movie, because I think he's an okay actor when he wants to be. But outside of a movie, that's the first time I've ever seen him on like anything that I didn't just like absolutely hate the guy. He just seemed like a normal, regular dude during that episode. Where every time else he's just like a complete and total jackass.
I I have this very sincere feeling that like being a child actor in Hollywood makes it very hard to grow up
Oh,
well.
for sure. Yeah, I don't necessarily blame him. And he was young or very famous, very young. But that doesn't mean I have to like what he turned into.
Sure. Oh no. But I'm just saying, like I give him some credit because I think like I mean I don't really pay attention to tabloids or any sort of Hollywood news other than just what movies are coming out that I want to watch.
Sure.
But just in like the little bit I've seen of him over like the last 10 or 15 years, like I feel like he started off being one of those typical guys who just kind of messed up and kind of shows to I feel like the last couple of years he's kind of taken some steps to
Kind of
I mean
even
not
keel
that we
out.
can really tell really like we have no idea but at least the way that he's portrayed himself is to have kind of evened out and grown up a little bit and
I will say that my favorite Shia LaBeouf thing of all time is when 4chan went after him. So if you remember this, and so I don't know if this triggers whatever, but he was running this like art project in New York, and he was having like it was a camera and a microphone. You could walk up to it and just basically scream about how you hated Trump or whatever. Which fair enough, but it brought the trolls hard. So they were trolling it. It was turned into this big mess, and eventually New York was like, okay, this is causing too many problems. You need to go away. And so what they did is, or he did, is he went and started a new live stream, but it was literally just a, what was his slogan? You will not, wasn't you not defeat us, or you will not, shoot, I'm gonna
I don't
forget.
remember what it said. I
Yeah.
remember the story or that's happening though, where
Gotta
keep
move
it going.
flag. But yeah, so you will not divide us. Sorry. So this flag, and it basically sat out. If you ever watch the Internet Historian, he does a great episode on this. But basically, this flag was just put up, and you could just kind of like hear the wind and the birds. And it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just a flag blowing in the wind with a light on it that said, "You will not divide us." Which is funny. So 4chan, of course, being 4chan, was like, no, this is not going to stand. We must not allow this to continue just because we're 4chan and we got to troll everybody and everything. Just like how they made the okay, like, symbol of white supremacy thing. Like, it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, we're going to find this. And long story short is they're watching video. They get the time zone by when the sun goes down. They're looking at weather patterns, and then all of a sudden they see a jet fly over. And while public records is you can log right in and see the flight information for every plane in the U.S. So they start looking at that time zone and flights and like the just angles of things, and like they end up tracking down a flight, realizing it's over like Tennessee or something, and they start doing all this other work and stars, and like they're calculating all this math, and they're crowdsourcing stuff. Eventually they get it like narrowed down to like this like couple mile area radius, and essentially some dudes in the channel going, you know what, I actually live around here, I'm just going to go out in that area and drive around and honk my horn until you hear it on stream. And then they found it through audible signals. They're like, yes, you're closer, not closer, whatever. And they end up
It's
taking and putting a MAGA hat on top of the flagpole just to screw with him. It was glorious.
the internet.
And then he hit another flag in a building somewhere, and they ended up finding it like an art gallery in like London. Like they found it too, and the guys tried to break in and get it, and they like got in trouble or something because they were trying to break into a place to get it. Like they the internet is amazing. I love it. So anyway, that's a weird tangent that isn't usually related to what we're talking about, but he's in movies.
Yeah, just tell the internet what they can't do and see what happens.
Yeah, like it was awesome. That was my favorite Shia LaBeouf story. So it's not even him. He just gets super triggered about it, and the internet's amazing. I love it. It's a strange and weird place. But he's kind of ingrained in internet culture. It's weird because he has like the do it gif,
what
and
are
like
you waiting for?
that thing where he's clapping and crying. Like that's a huge gif. I see that everywhere. So I don't know. He's a weird duck, but God bless you, Shia LaBeouf. So anyway, like 15 minutes left. You got anything else, Ryan?
I have. I may have shared these before. I don't know if I did or not. But I know we've talked about them at least, but I'm going to bring up the original Star Wars book trilogy
Oh my goodness.
from the mid 90s, also known as the Thrawn trilogy.
Oh yes, Thrawn.
Featuring all of your favorite Star Wars classic characters, such as Luke, Han Solo, Leia, Lando Calrissian. Oh my god, I can't even talk.
What?
Lando. What'd you say, Lando?
Calrissian?
Calrissian. What? No. And even at times, Wedge.
Oh,
Why not?
Wedge. Yeah, the
Because why
pilot.
not? Yeah. Um, these books are the closest thing to true Star Wars sequels you will ever see in media. And
Not
Disney
canon.
hates them.
Not canon.
Disney hates them. Disney has scrapped them off the canon heap. But it's okay because the author of these books he is still writing books about these characters that are canon, and he's pretty much just pretending that these books still exist. And it's wonderful.
That's fair. That's fair. I have not read those. I am sadly as Star Wars nutty as I am, and I will first admit that I'm not the most nutty Star Wars person, but I do enjoy me a lot of Star Wars, and I have not read any of the books. I think I got one once, and I started it, and I just never finished it.
These books not only introduce Admiral Thrawn, But also fan favorite Mara Jade, who no longer exists, but she does, right here,
In your heart.
right here. These books are also all available on Audible in unabridged form, which for Star Wars books is a rarity.
Really?
Most of the Star Wars audiobooks, like they have basically the entire collection of these books in Audible format or audio format, but 90% of them that I found are abridged, which means like what would be like a 12, 13-hour book is like down to 4 hours, which means you're missing a lot of stuff. They might be less rare to find in unabridged lately, just because the audiobook franchise or audiobook market has really taken off. But these ones are definitely unabridged. Most of the Timothy Zahn ones, who is the author of these books, are unabridged. But they are very good books and very worth listening to or reading
What's the
if you are at
synopsis?
all. A synopsis of the entire trilogy. Admiral Thrawn, who is a Grand Admiral of the Empire, basically comes back from the far reaches of space where he was when all of the events happening in the original trilogy were taking place. And when he comes back with a lot of information about the Emperor and the Empire that most of the current people in the Empire are unaware of. He also comes back with authority, some big ships, and a lot of stormtroopers. And as such, he basically takes over the Empire. And whereas they had been more or less defeated, but not completely defeated at the end of the Return of the Jedi, it is a long process for the rebels to reestablish the Republic and to push the Empire back further and further, just because there's a lot of infrastructure there, a lot of stormtroopers, a lot of giant ships that the rebels can't really just overnight push out. Um, at this point, it's like 6 years after Return of the Jedi. Things seem like the Republic, the new Republic, have things under control. Admiral Thrawn shows up, starts pushing back. Everything seems to be falling apart. There are Wookiees.
I love
There
Wookiees.
are. We find out that there is one Wookiee who has a speech impediment, and
What?
his speech impediment allows him to actually speak basic. So instead of
Oh,
doing like the hoot, hollering,
you can
whatever you
actually
call,
speak
he
with.
can actually speak like English. Essentially, it's very accented and weird, but because of his own speech impediment, he can do it. And at first, everybody on the Wookiee planet made fun of him, but now they see his value. Isn't that sweet?
That is sweet.
It also features a clone of an old Jedi who thinks that he is that Jedi, but he's not. He's a clone, and
He
he's
doesn't realize
nuts.
he's a clone.
He doesn't realize he's a clone, and he's completely nuts. But he's taken it upon himself to find Luke Skywalker and to train him. And Luke Skywalker also doesn't realize that he's. I'm giving away spoilers. It doesn't matter. It's 3 books.
They're old.
Um, it also introduces a creature that grows on a certain planet that basically makes an anti-force bubble, which Grand Admiral Thrawn uses to basically control the clone fake Jedi and also to try to trap Luke. As I said, it features Mara Jade, who is a well-known character from the after movies, who was the hand of the Emperor back in the movie stuff, where he is one of the ladies that the Emperor uses to like assassinate people or to just spy and do sneaky things. And as such, she has some force abilities, but they're all tied to him. And she hates Luke Skywalker with everything that's in her. And so the story begins. Oh, also, I think it's in the middle of this that Han and Leia have kids, the twins, which no longer exist in the modern day universe either.
Right. I actually knew about the kid twins. I've heard of that, but yes, all that stuff is not canon anymore, so it doesn't matter. Sad days.
unless 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 Ben and Daisy are the twins.
No,
No.
not allowed.
Also, I just called her Daisy.
Daisy, you did. That's how much we care
That's how
about
much
our
I care
character.
about Ray. That would also make that kiss at the end really weird.
Super weird.
So that was my extra share. You're all very welcome.
Super fun. Didn't work. I was trying to make a affiliate link for Audible since you mentioned it while you were talking, and it looks like I got most of the way. But I'll have to pay attention. Maybe we'll put that on there. So,
Put it on the YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see if I can get one of those out there because we do mention some fun stuff there, and Audible's kind of a cool thing, and they do a decent affiliate
Audible
program.
support the podcast.
Well, they don't like ever directly. So every single time you see Audible on any of these podcasts, which is almost every podcast, they do not do like direct support. It's an affiliate program. So if you go and use their creator code or whatever inside there and then go buy a book or get your free trial, then there's a kickback to the person who advertised it. But they don't directly advertise out to these podcasts. It's all affiliate links. But that's a thing. So
Well, do you, dear listener, drive in a vehicle for hours a day?
I don't have the affiliate link yet. Don't tell them to go get it.
If so, don't go to audible.com right now. Do
What?
not go to audible.com. You wait, and then you click the link that's in the YouTube channel.
Right.
It'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be super great. I'll do that.
I want to play Batman Shadow of the Bat. And in order for this to happen,
we need I need funds.
we need funds.
Let's fund these board games, yo. Let's see. So I guess I did not get to read through too many comics, if any at all, in the last couple of weeks, which is a bummer. I've been busy and tired. And I'm waiting for spring. I feel re-energized. It's actually 50 degrees here. Felt super great today. So I know it'll be a little colder tomorrow, but it gave me hope. It re-energized me. But I would like to share this because I just got these a little bit ago. So a buddy of mine who you probably actually know him as well through the comic book stuff. He does a lot of work with C4 in the comic book store, but he put together this book a while back called Punching the Clock. I got a handful of these. I bought them from him. And it's a comic book where they go through, I don't know if we get a little focusing on that, but it's about some people who work retail, which I worked retail for a while. So some really good insight here, which is really funny. It's a pretty darn funny book. It's fun because I actually got this signed by him. So you can find these places. I'll put links in the description where you can, I think you can find some of these. I believe there's still a website up for this, and I'll put his personal blog up, and he has some other projects he's working on. But yeah, this is the crazy adventures of some dudes who work in retail, and it's just kind of a crazy, over the top, the kind of storytelling of working in retail. I have not finished all of them, but what I have read is pretty darn good. I actually am pretty impressed by these. So, and if you go to his website, you can kind of see where he's going to be. He goes to cons and sells these and signs them and stuff too. So, yeah, Punching the Clock. If you can find these, support like kind of indie artist stuff. Definitely should check that out. And shout out to Rob Humphrey and Jeffrey Manley for making that book. It's pretty cool. It's fun to see that stuff. It's well done. And you should support it if you get a chance. And some of his other stuff, I should bring that up and talk about it, but I didn't do that before now. So, because it'd be nice to show you this new stuff, but I'll put links to all the stuff in the description below. So, that's kind of my share. Very cool. That's very cool. Very cool. I want to call us the Nerd Herd.
The Nerd Herd.
Because I love Chuck so much.
Oh,
I miss that show. So cheesy, but so beautiful.
That is one of those shows that I still have not watched the last season of.
Oh, I'm sure I haven't watched all of it.
But simply because I knew it was ending and I just couldn't. because I loved it.
I definitely enjoyed the probably first 3 seasons. I'm guessing. I don't know how much more it ran, if it was 5 or what, but I definitely enjoyed the or first 3 at least seasons thoroughly. I really liked it. It was fun, and I miss it, and it's fun to see him as Shazam. I guess that's all I have to say about that.
He is a good Shazam.
All right. Well, I see. That's pretty good. We can start to wrap it up here. No need to do our normal 12 minutes of talk over time since we're kind of a good spot to end. Is there anything else you want to tell the people before I do the sign off stuff, Ryan?
Um, have a wonderful week. 2 weeks. I don't know. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do things. We're gonna play board games at some point. It'll happen. That's all I really got.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So if you're watching, wherever you're watching, we do this live every 2 weeks. Come hang out with us, chat in the chat. We put all the episodes up. Usually they're out by really like early Wednesday morning. I take Tuesday to kind of go through and make sure there's nothing crazy weird with the edit. Things like I forgot to record this one, for example. I'm just now realizing, so I'm gonna have to pull it off Twitch, and I got to put all that stuff in. I know I gotta make a sticky note somewhere. So follow us on social. We'll put all that stuff up and let you know when they're live on YouTube as well. If you ever want to go back and watch the previous episodes, they're all on YouTube. So click below. If you're watching us on Twitch right now, there's a link in the panels that just says YouTube. You click on it, it takes you straight to the channel, and you can watch all the previous ones where we talk about all this type of nerdy stuff. And then the future stuff is in 2 weeks. We'll have another one of these episodes. I personally will be streaming on Saturday, like I mentioned earlier. We have a LAN party that will go a good chunk of the day. And we most definitely, now that we have all the board game stuff ordered for the most part, at least enough to get started, in the next couple weeks, I think you'll see the first test runs on this channel. So again, subscribe to us on social media. I'm active on mostly Twitter, but definitely Instagram. Ryan's on Instagram. And obviously you can just come back here most nights from 9 to 11. I'll be on here chatting it up with everybody, playing video games, and keep track of that, because it would be really fun to have people stop in and check out the board game streams. I think those will be really fun once we get those set up. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and just, I don't know. I don't got a good sign off. Goodbye, Internet.
We enjoyed our talk, and thank you for joining us.
All right. Bye-bye.